All right, let's talk React 19. We're going to dive into one of the biggest updates, something called Actions. And trust me, this isn't just another small feature. It's a total game changer for how we handle data in our apps. It promises to get rid of a ton of that boilerplate code we've all been painfully writing for years.
So if you're a reactive, does this look familiar? I mean, come on. How many times have you found yourself writing is loading, is error, set data, over and over and over again? You're just trying to handle a simple form, but you're juggling all these different use state hooks. It's a super common headache, and let's be honest, it gets messy fast. Okay, so let's really dig into that struggle. To truly get why the new way is so good, we got to take a hard look at the problem we've all just kind of accepted until now. This right here, this is the before picture. This is the world most of us have been living in, right? For every single form submission, every button click that has to talk to a server, we're manually flipping all these switches. Okay, is it loading? Cool, turn on the spinner. Whoops, did it fail? Show the error message. All right, it worked? Great, now update the UI. It is just so much manual state management. And this is what we call the boilerplate burden. I mean, look at this checklist. You've got use state for your inputs, another use state for the loading state, another one for the error state. Then you've got your big async handle submit function stuffed with try catch blocks for error handling, and then you have to manually update all that state. It's this whole tangled web of code. Yeah, it works, but it's so repetitive. And you know what? It's the perfect breeding ground for bugs. But what if we could just get rid of almost all of that? I'm serious, that's exactly what React 19 is aiming for with Actions. So let's check out this much simpler way. Okay, this comparison says it all, doesn't it? On the left, you've got the old way. It's this complicated, imperative mess of logic that you have to build from scratch every time. And then, on the right, you have the new way with Actions. It's just clean, it's declarative. It's like a single puzzle piece that just fits right in. You just pass a function, an action, straight to the form's action prop, and boom, all that complexity just melts away. So what is an action, really? Well, at its core, it's just a function. That's it. Usually an async function that you pass to a form or button. But here's the magic. React is now smart enough to understand that this function is changing data. And because it knows that, it automatically handles the whole submission lifecycle for you. And that brings us to the first huge superpower you get with Actions, automatic pending states. Seriously, this is where you're going to start seeing those benefits pile up. You heard that right. Forget about manually writing is loading true ever again. The second you fire off an action, React just knows that the form is pending. You don't have to set a loading state at the beginning and then remember to turn it off at the end in both the success and error cases. The framework just handles it. It's a massive win for writing cleaner, less buggy code. So the whole life cycle is super simple. Check it out. First, your form is just sitting there. It's idle. Then the user hits submit and bam, it goes into the pending state. This is while your action is running, talking to the server. And finally, when it's all finished, it's done. React gives you ways to hook into these states if you need to, but the key thing is it's tracking all of this behind the scenes for you. Man, this code just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? The best code is the code you don't have to write. By baking this state management right into the framework, React is literally deleting entire categories of boilerplate. It just frees us up to focus on the stuff that actually makes our app unique, not reinventing the form submission wheel for the 1000th time. Okay, but hold on. Automatic pending states? That's just the start. That's just the foundation. Because this new awareness of the submission lifecycle unlocks something else, something that feels like actual magic to your users. I'm talking about Optimistic UI. I want you to just think about this for a second. What if your UI could update instantly, before the server even gets back to you? Imagine a user post a comment and it just appears in the list right away, like there was zero network lag. That's the whole idea behind optimistic updates. So what we're talking about with Optimistic UI is updating the interface right away with the outcome you expect to happen. You don't wait for the server to confirm it. And the result? Your app feels blazing fast. It feels super responsive, even if the user's on a spotty connection. This used to be a really advanced, kind of tricky pattern to get right, but not anymore. And here's the kicker. React 19 now makes this super easy to do with a brand new hook called useOptimistic. And you guessed it, it's designed to work perfectly, hand in hand with Actions. Just look at the difference here. On the left, that's the old way. The user clicks, they see a spinner, they wait, and then they see the result.
But on the right, with an optimistic update, the user clicks and they see the result instantly. The UI just feels alive. It's the difference between an app that feels like a clunky tool and one that feels like a natural extension of what the user is trying to do. So how does this useOptimistic hook actually work? It's actually beautiful in its simplicity. You basically give it two things. First, your current, actual state. Then you give it the optimistic state, what you want the UI to show while the submission is happening. While the action is pending, React shows that optimistic version. And here's the best part. If the action succeeds, that optimistic state just becomes the real state. If it fails, React automatically reverts everything back for you. No manual cleanup, no fuss. It just works.
Okay, so let's zoom out for a second and look at the big picture. Why is this such a big deal? Why does this change pretty much everything about how we handle data mutations?
I mean, this chart says it all. For us, the developers, code complexity plummets. The potential for bugs goes way, way down. And for our users, the responsiveness of the UI goes through the roof. It's just a massive win-win for everyone.
And this table really puts it in black and white. Look at the shift. Loading states go from manual to automatic. UI feedback goes from delayed to instant, thanks to useOptimistic. And code complexity goes from high and full of boilerplate to low and declarative. This really is an evolution for how we build with React.
So if there's one thing to take away, it's this. Actions are shifting us away from a manual imperative process to a declarative framework managed one. Before, we were basically telling React how to do everything step by step. Now we just tell React what we want to happen by giving it an action, and we let the framework handle all the tricky parts for us.
And it's so important to remember, this isn't just for forms. Actions are a new fundamental building block for any time you need to change data in your app. This is a massive improvement for building the kinds of modern, responsive web apps we all want to build.
And that's really the question I want to leave you with. Now that data handling is getting so much simpler, and the framework is taking care of all that tedious boilerplate, what does that free you up to build? What kinds of new, fast, amazing user experiences are you going to create? The possibilities are just wide open. Thanks so much for tuning in.